Welcome back to Create and Connect, the podcast where we explore the minds and hands of craftsmen, makers, and artists who are building meaningful connections through the work they do. I'm your host, Tom Breslin. I run the Phoenix Wood Shop, where I craft custom CNC machine flags to honor the service and sacrifice of firefighters, police officers, and military men and women. Each piece that I create is a tribute, a connection between someone's story and something that can be held, displayed, or passed down. My guest today is Kurt Blum, the sole proprietor of Three Goose Shoppe, based in Rhode Island. Kurt has a unique view of the world and his work. He often says he specializes in learning how to correct mistakes. And honestly, that's part of what his craft makes him so honest and so human. Kurt has lived many lives, first in the Pacific Northwest, then in Los Angeles, now in the Northeast. Along the way, he's carved out a life that is rooted in family as well as making. When he's not working on a commissioned piece or fixing up his home or working in the garden, he's fully present as a husband, a father, and a son. Today, we'll talk about the roles and his creativity, how he identifies that creativity, and his passion and purpose, one project at a time. Let's jump into it. My friend, Kurt Blum.
Hello, Tom.
Hi, Kurt. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's great to see you and to hear you.
Good. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. I know we've done a couple of collaborative pieces in the maker community. It's always been fun.
Indeed. Indeed, we have. Next, we have to make a go-kart together. I want to modify my go-kart into like a fire apparatus.
I love it.
For Jimmy's track, and just leave it at the track.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. We got to have a working deck gun so it can spray water.
Oh, yeah. A winch, a medical box, and
awesome.
Lights and bells.
Bells and whistles, the louder the better. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's so you just came back from Jimmy's Raceway this summer. I know that we were there together last year. I wasn't able to make it this year.
Yeah.
Your first attempt to the go-kart was last year. Mm-hmm. And something new to you, you started welding.
Yeah.
And you and Monty were there racing. And Monty, your son, I saw on Instagram, you guys were racing again this year. Did you modify the same kart?
Just aesthetically, we gave it a coat of paint and some white walls, and kind of tricked it out a bit, just paint-wise, and turned out really well. Just rattle can, spray paint and primer, and we were pretty happy with it. You put some gold accents in there to try and give it some fanciness, but no hand painting or anything yet. But it's a good base coat.
No. And the white walls. I love the white walls.
The white walls. Yeah. But my dad had white walls on all his cars, and so I had to figure out a way to kind of give him a little shout out posthumously to show off his influence on my style as well.
Well, that's great. I know that you've talked about your dad's car. Was it the T-Bird?
Yeah. He had several cars, but the only one left is the T-Bird, 57 Thunderbird, and that's in the garage.
Your garage?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he did a full-on restoration of it about 15 years ago, and it was the only car left in his collection that got kind of the full frame-off treatment, and so it's an honor to have it in the garage. It's a pain in the ass to drive. It's thick, no power brakes, no power steering.
Yeah, who needs brakes?
It's all gas, no brakes.
Perfect. What year?
57.
Oh, wow.
Last of the two-seaters.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's up and running? You take it out on the nice nights up in Rhode Island?
Yeah. Like a little old lady. I'll take it out on the weekends and roll it around for a little bit, and put it back in the shop. Put the cover back on it, and a trickle charger on it, just to keep it alive.
That's perfect.
It'll never see rain. It'll never see snow. I'm probably never going to put the top back on it unless somebody later comes along and buys it. They want to put the top back on. But yeah, it's just fun in the sun.
That's great. And I'm sure Monty has a ball with it, tooling around.
You would think a child of 12 would be a little more enthusiastic about old technology, but it's not the case. It is not the case. It's like, Dad, what is that smell? That's gasoline. Gas. What is gas? What is this gas? Well, all of our other stuff, hybrid stuff. It's great. We never spent so little on gas. But a V8 4-barrel, it's loud and smelly, and it's a car. It's genuinely a car.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you describe yourself as someone who specializes in learning how to correct mistakes. Can you talk about what that means to you in your work?
Well, sure. The first thing I often make when I'm trying to make something is a mistake. And part of the process of learning all aspects of whether it's making or trying to learn a new skill, or like typing, or even learning to drive, going to make a mistake somewhere. And it's accepted more readily now that I have this kind of view on life that this is going to happen the way it's going to happen. And I can rearrange the order the next time I try it and see if I get a better result. And hopefully, that informs my my discussions with even my son and my wife when we talk about new things and trying new things. Because my son's 12 and he's trying new stuff and he wants to be great at it right away, and that's so hard to do. So we have to remind each other just to, realize that it's still a big process that everybody has to experience at some level in their life. Some people are just great right out of the box at different things, but they couldn't do something that I could do very well quickly, and I couldn't do something that they can do very well quickly. There's an understanding in just trying to overcome the failure mindset of, oh, this didn't work the first time. Well, great. There's the second time. You don't have to do it the same.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that Jimmy DeResta says is you go to school the first time.
Go to school the first time. Yeah.
And then you go to work the second time. Now, I'm only starting to learn that myself as, getting older. And I don't care for that at all. I never have. I have a vision of what I want to do, and if it doesn't come out perfectly right away, I'll probably put a hammer in the job and then, come back to it much later.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, much better philosophy, and definitely a more mature philosophy to have. And, kudos to you for trying to share that with your son.
I mean, a big part of teaching or even learning yourself is the patience involved, and the patience with yourself is, you don't have the same understanding as if you're trying to teach someone to do something. Like, case in point, let's go back to the go-kart build. I'd never welded in my life. I'd seen people do it. My son never welded in his life. And it's like, hey, let's try and learn this together. So we bought, a Lincoln Electric flux core, kind of the simple home shop type piece. Wasn't very expensive, but it was quality. And it came with a manual. And it's like, here, do these things. It's like, I have no idea what any of this says. I'm reading the words and nothing is sinking in. And so it just came down to doing and turning the knobs and seeing what did what. So we did a whole lot of experimenting just at the beginning and created a huge amount of smoke and fume. We had all the fans going and, followed all the safety protocols that we could. But there's just, some of the welds on this go-kart, you would think they were chewing gum just kind of pressed onto the metal and then spray painted. It's like they're just so lumpy and spattery, and they look like, just nothing you would present in shop class as a final. No way. But darned if the thing doesn't hold together, and darned if we didn't have fun doing it. And we've shared this experience, learning together, laughing at our mistakes. That was another big thing, was don't take it so seriously because we're making a go-kart. This isn't, we're not trying to save the Titanic here. We're just putting together some square tube into a bigger square and putting some wheels on it and seeing if it'll go. But it takes a lot of reminders, not only for my son and trying to share these experiences with him, but it starts with me and trying to, remember. I used to be the guy I'd do the same thing. It's not right the first time. I may never come back to it. May never see it again. It'll sit on the shelf somewhere. But when, it takes a Herculean effort mentally, just to proceed with the mistake. Case in point, I know you're not going to see this in the podcast, but this is a pencil cup that I made for my wife. This is on my wife's desk, and that must have taken me probably 8 hours, all in 8 hours, just trying to figure out how to make a ring out of wood. I'd never done it before. So yeah.
And was that on a lathe? Was that
drill press?
A drill press.
Yeah, it's rings cut out of an old piece of pine that I had sitting around. I try to salvage as much as I can, but it's just an old piece of pine that I had sitting around, and I bought two. What are they?
A Forstner bit or a keyhole bit?
I guess keyhole.
A hole saw.
Hole saw, sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the round thing with the teeth. Yeah, that thing. But two different sizes, like a 1/4 inch each.
Right.
One would fit inside the other, so I could get a ring. But I kept making a whole lot of dust and a whole lot of smoke because it was either the drill press was running too slow, or I was just, pressing too hard. All this stuff was like, it was so frustrating. So I just wanted to make this little thing. And then I had to repeat it. But once I got it down, I got the air compressor to blow out the sawdust that was being created, and all the smoke went away. And the teeth were able to cut faster. And it turned out okay. It turned out great, actually. It was better than I thought. When getting to that point was just a series of sweat and frustration and swearing and being alone in my shop, and nobody gets to see this but me. And then my wife looks at it and goes, "Oh, that's amazing! How did you do that?" And it's like, I don't even really remember. I don't really remember, but it's the only one I've made.
Well, what a great process of the creative juices flowing, determination, tenacity that you're going to get it done. And
Right?
the thing that I like about carpentry the most, and even metalwork, there's more than one way to cut a piece of wood. There's more than one way to create. And I think it's just wonderful that there's so many tools that we have the ability to utilize. So you're using hole saws where you could have used a lathe and, ask, Pat Lapp to use his machine and, up in Canada. And
right. Just shop all of it out to, other places. Yeah. You mentioned a lathe. It's like, yeah, I'd love to work on a lathe. I don't have one. So you got to make do, I guess.
Right.
That's part of the creative aspect, like you're saying. It's like, I wonder what I could use what do I have here that will work with this? And I've, come up with some pretty good remedies. Just out of sheer luck, I had the tool. And it's like, oh yeah, that'll work. In making these legs, these little prop legs for the show, I had to use wooden dowel, and cut hinge joints, and then put a wooden dowel through the hinge joint so it could give some structure to the pool noodle. But I had to, measure everything first to make sure everything kind of friction fits. I don't want to really use a lot of glue, stuff like that, in case I need to fix it quickly. I can take it apart quickly. But the hinge joint, like, how do I make that? And it's like, oh, I've got a draw saw. I've got all these different things. And then I remembered, oh, yeah, I've got a bandsaw. I'll just do that. So
like, bandsaw is very useful.
In remembering, oh, that's so versatile. Because, I kept breaking, the tension was all wrong, trying to figure more patient stories. You got to figure out the tool in order to use it correctly. Otherwise, it's either going to kill you or it's just not going to, work properly, and you're going to get more frustrated and you're going to throw it out the window. But
let's tell everybody, we said we were talking about this off camera before. So just to give everybody who's listening reference, you were sharing that you're making the legs for your son's character in his play. Yes,
he's playing Lord Farquaad in the local production of Shrek, and so he has little legs and he performs on his knees the entire show. But the big illusion is that he has these tiny legs, and I was asked to make those. And it's been great fun trying to figure it out, because it just gathering the materials. It's like, what do we have here that costs no money? What do I have that I have on hand? And they bought, they spent $2 on little kids' boots from, a consignment shop or something, and gave me the boots and said, okay, fill these. And it's like, great, great. So I spent $1 and got a pool noodle and stuck it in the little shoes, in the little boots, and I'll be darned if it didn't fit perfectly. Nice little snug fit. And then from there, it was just trimming it down to fit my son's torso while he's on his knees. We bought some like workman style knee pads, like floor guys would wear, real substantial stuff. And zip ties, hot glue, and some other cloth to put over the finished thing, and boom, he's got these tiny little legs strapped to his body with Velcro, and he's walking around on his knees with a baggy shirt over the top of it, and it looks like he's just shuffling around his tiny little feet.
That's fantastic.
It worked. So now we're in the beta test of it, where he's actually using it during rehearsal, and there's some shortcomings where it's just a pool noodle flexing too much, and it looks too muppety. So we have added the structure of the dowel with the wooden joint, and everything's held together with friction fit and hope, and and it's working so far. We'll probably get duct tape in there at some point.
I was going to ask, because hot glue, zip tie, and duct tape, I think, is holding New York City together.
Oh yeah, and I would agree. But there's a reason they make that stuff, and it's for apparently the theater.
I just love how you are constantly connecting with either people in the community, certainly your family, and you are an artist. You were in fine arts, and now you seem, being focused as a family man, focused on your family. Your projects now in Three Goose Shoppe.
Three Goose Shoppe.
Is really nice that you're able to incorporate all of it, all of you, all of your family, and have it all connected as one. So tell us what inspired you to get the name and how it all began.
Three Goose Shoppe stems from my family. There's three of us. And when my son was born, his nickname was Little Goose. And my wife's production company is Three Goose Entertainment. And Three Goose Shoppe is a subsidiary of Three Goose Entertainment. But Three Geese was emblematic of us when we started our family. There were three of us. And it's just perpetuated itself in the years that I met my wife. We did a project together in college. We were both finishing our undergrad, and we were assigned a task of how do geese and humans coexist, because they're separate. Let's see. There's a picture of it somewhere. But they're separate systems, but they cross paths. And how do they do that?
In the animal kingdom?
In New York City, we used the landing on the Hudson. My wife grew up in New York. She's a Brooklyn person, and we came up with the idea of how do we convey a better understanding of how these two systems can coexist. So we used the perspective of geese in that whole scenario. It's like what happened on the Hudson to us as human beings was like, oh, wow, that's a fantastic feat of rescue and calm and saving lives. And the geese's perspective was many, many geese died that day. And here's the reason why. And so we took this different aspect of what happened and created this whole chart of what geese and how geese provide happiness to humans and why humans need geese. And because there was all this talk about how do you get the geese population out of New York, all these things. Maybe you remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, these are residential geese. They don't migrate. They live there.
Right.
So it was trying to gain a broader understanding of how geese operate within flight paths, because they don't really have radar. They go where they want to go. And it was told with humor and, funny and informative. And that kind of set the tone, because my wife and I hadn't started dating yet. And it was like, oh, she's really interesting. And from there, it was just kind of, it stuck. And
That's great.
Little Goose came along, and then now there's Three Geese. So here we are. Long story short, too late.
Well, we have the time and we have the space. So,
okay.
What you've been in 3 different parts of the country.
Correct.
So how have these places shaped your approach to craftsmanship and your work in the shop?
The Northwest was where I spent my formative years. I lived there until I was 26. My dad always had a shop. It's where I did all my education through high school. I took, shop classes and in junior high school, starting in junior high school, making a cutting board. Those were my first mistakes were made. Like many people. And what influenced me there, what I think was my dad's, he was a hobbyist as far as metalwork. He was, he had a company that restored or replaced stainless steel trim pieces for certain year cars, certain model cars, and he was the only guy who did it. So if anybody was restoring one of these cars, they would send the trim pieces to my dad from around the world, classic cars. That was his hobby. He was a commercial pilot by trade, but his real passion was restoring and having fun with old cars. So there was that exposure there. My dad's shop was a total mess, and he knew where everything was, of course. But everything had this fine coating of like buffing compound and, a certain smell. You open the door and it's like, yep, that's like 3-in-1 oil, all the things, the old electric stuff that made lots of noises and possibly sparks, all that technology was in my dad's shop. And then from there, that was the seed, I think, that was deeply planted in my brain. From there, I went to Los Angeles to study theater and theater acting, and I had a background in stagecraft and props and building things, sets and stuff of that nature. So it kept me involved rather rudimentally. It wasn't as creative as I am today. Just there's a freedom that I've allowed myself to have, I think, moving into, this next phase here in the Northeast, where I actually have a space for a shop. This is, a novelty to me that I have space to even buy tools and put them somewhere. So it's been a real new kind of renaissance as far as my passion and growth and creativity moving here, and being so close to Maker Camp, where we met. We actually met at
The workshop.
Dre's epoxy workshop, right?
Yeah.
Because I had been to the camp the previous October, but we didn't meet there. I don't know if you were there. Probably were.
We were there together, but did not
cross paths.
Right. And there's so many people up at Maker Camp, and even the people that you want to see, you may not see because they're in another tent. Yeah. And we may have crossed paths just waiting online for breakfast in the morning and maybe said hello. But when we went up for the epoxy camp, that was the camp that I wanted to do. And, Dre is very creative. And she was very patient. Especially with me, I was so excited to start working with epoxy, and I had more projects than people could think of doing that weekend.
Yeah, I remember looking at your stuff going, should I have brought stuff? Was I meant to bring stuff?
Oh, I had a mold
a
with me. I had things that needed epoxy poured on top and needed a deep pour, a tabletop pour, all these things. And, I was there with Sebastian late at night, just pouring stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, the next morning I was there first thing in the morning trying to mix things up because making mistakes, like you said, I did it on my own here in my shop. And I took, because I'm only learning through YouTube, through other makers.
Sure.
I took my DeWalt drill and put a mixing paddle on the end of it. And I just put it in there and I hit the trigger.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it started to boil over and, the thermal exposure, it was heating up and the fumes coming off of it. And my wife coming downstairs screaming at me, like, what are you doing? It stinks upstairs. And it was probably, bad exposure that I wasn't expecting it to stink like that. So yeah, I was very excited to be at Dre's epoxy workshop. But
had you been doing the tribute plaques at that point? You brought some really cool like flag motif stuff.
Yeah,
wasn't sure how far you had been doing that stuff, how long you'd been doing it.
So at that point, I was probably doing it about 3 years, maybe 2.5. And I left the flag up there and I gave it to Austin so we could put it in the maker space. And I learned, I did sort of a reverse pour where I made the stars proud and I did the pocket inside the union, and I poured the blue epoxy into the union. So the background was blue and the stars were the exposed wood. Yeah. And I had the maker camp symbol on there. So I left that up there and I was learning about that. And I was really excited to be there. And like I said, Dre was so patient with me because like a kid, this is my idea. This is what I want to do. And
man. Yeah.
And I noticed that you kept looking over very quietly and, and you're trying to figure out who everybody is at these places. And I could see you were calm, you were reserved, you seemed very distinguished. And there was almost a bubble over your head that, what is this guy doing?
Well, again, it was me thinking, should I have brought more stuff? I didn't bring any stuff.
And then it was the next morning that I shared this with Pat Reynolds on my previous podcast. You and I started talking about the Jimmy DiResta brass hammer that he had somebody commissioned to do the handle. Right. And then I think it was DFM. DFM was commissioned to do the brass head.
Right.
And
off his design and his spec.
Right.
Yeah.
It was his design, his spec, but he didn't do it. These other guys put it together. Right. And Rob Rojas was there, and he was telling us the whole story of how Jimmy, had the concept and had the design, and these other guys wanted to jump in and do a collaboration. Yeah. Yeah. And you told me you ordered the hammer, and I'm saying to myself, it's such a pretty tool.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't want to use it. I would want to put it behind glass. So nobody uses it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we came up with the idea, let's put it behind glass like it's an emergency hammer.
Right.
And in case of emergency, break the glass. But the irony is the hammer's behind the glass.
Yeah. In case of emergency, use hammer to break glass. And it's behind the glass. Yeah.
And
at one point, Rob, I think, did Rob suggest we just encase the whole thing in epoxy and just make a giant brick out of it in epoxy?
Maybe.
It's like,
I'm sure that came up, that idea. And then Pat Reynolds was there, and he said, "Did you two just become best friends? Did I just witness something here?"
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we should collaborate. Yeah. Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah. And we did it.
And we did. That was for, what was that, Maker Collab 24?
Yeah. You got it started, and I did a little bit of work.
Again, breaking new territory. Never made a box before. What do I do? How do I do this? Yeah.
Yeah. All good stuff.
You had all that fantastic etch work on the glass. That was, I mean, people look at it and go, "How'd you do that?" Like, I don't know. You'd have to ask Tom. I just did the box, and I paid for the hammer. But that's it.
Right. Well, you get to display it in your shop, which is good.
But then, we took it up to camp last year and showed Jimmy and got a picture with him in it. And he's like, "Oh, French cleat." I was like, "Yeah, it's French cleat." Like, yeah. Is that what it's called, a French cleat? Yeah.
Yeah. So
great
cool.
fun. Great fun. But it looks like an alarm box. Oh, like it belongs next to an alarm box in a hallway in a high school. It's great. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. But what really sells it for me is the etching in the glass. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you put so much work into that, and made it so personal and so nice, and just happy.
Zip ties and spray paint. It's all prep work. Sanding, primer. Yeah.
A lot of sanding. That's great.
Sanding.
What would you say your favorite piece that you ever worked on was? Because it sounded like you've got so many good things that you've been working on, whether it was a collaboration or it was a commission piece. What do you think your favorite was?
Anything I make the first time it becomes my favorite thing. There's a number of things here. I'm in my wife's studio office, and I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things within my line of sight that I made for her that she asked for. And I made it either out of stuff I had on hand, or I've been using a tree that fell down. It was probably 1992. I think a hurricane came through here, Hurricane Bob, and it blew the top off this maple tree in our backyard. We weren't here, but subsequently the maple tree died, succumbed to its, suffocation. But the trunk was still standing there for years, decades. And when we moved in, I'm clearing out all this brush and poison ivy and saw this tree, and it's like, oh my goodness, there's this whole thing here. And I start picking at the bark, and it's all spongy and punky, and it's like, oh boy, this might come down. I better call a tree service. So the tree service comes out and they cut it up into chunks about 3-4 feet long. And they're sizable, 18 inches across, some of these pieces. And what am I going to do with this? I mean, I can't split it. I don't have, anything anything heavy duty. So I thought to myself, let's dry some of this out and see what I can make. And that started my local shop, wheels turning. Like, I have this abundance of material, and it looks very interesting. I cut off a few cookies with a chainsaw, and the wood had loads of character, lots of wormholes and staining and all kinds of this beautiful natural occurring decay. that I could stabilize with some, wood hardeners or other things that I, learned about how do you save this kind of wood. And over the next, winter or so, let things dry out, and things started to expand and contract and started to split and add more character to these pieces of wood that were at one point just this standing tree trunk. And now I had this opportunity. I can really explore some different techniques that I wanted to try. Power carving came into play. I got a couple different size bits and two teeth, variations, see what worked best. And just started throwing, sawdust and dust all around my shop, wearing a mask and eye stuff, and seeing what shapes would come out of this wood, just kind of naturally exposing what was there. And made a series of bowls and a series of tables. And then my wife, she paints. She does acrylic floor painting, and she gets these amazing results with these really interesting colors just on canvas. If you're familiar with the technique, it's just pouring a huge amount of paints together and letting them move across the canvas and moving and manipulating the canvas so you can kind of shape. It's nebulous and very organic shapes. Lots of amazing curves and colors that come through or disappear. So we did a series of tables where she poured paint over the table. And these end tables, they're all one of a kind, signed by the artist. Right? So we set up a shop, Three Goose Shoppe. There you go. And started selling these things online with her paintings. And, there's a favorite thing is sharing those kinds of experiences, not just with my family, not just with my wife and my son, but with, my friends, my family, extended into the community. I just, it's helped me recover a lot of disappointment in career changes and those types of things. It's like, these are things that really support me mentally and emotionally, because I'm using my hands. I'm tapping into that memory of being in the shop with my dad, or being in the shop in junior high school. Just remembering that those skills are still viable. They just still have to be exercised, and patient. And
what one piece of craftsmanship has connected you with somebody, or do you have a story of how somebody came back to you with?
Sure. We just recently we had a house guest, and she saw this table that I made out of a piece of walnut that my wife uses. It's like a tribute table to special memories and stuff like that. And it's here in her office, and it holds a special place. But it's a piece of walnut that a friend of mine had, and he wasn't going to use it. He was making cribbage boards, and like this piece is just too oddly shaped. I can't use it. And so he gave it to me, and I started working on it, and it started to expose its grain and its color and just the natural beauty of black walnut. It's insane, and it connected me not just to making something special for my wife, but my dad always used black walnut in anything he ever made for my mom. Anything he gave my mom that he made at his friend's wood shop was out of black walnut. And it was just a moment that was so. It's difficult for me to describe how rewarding it felt to have our house guests look at this table and say, "I need that. I want that. You made that? I can't believe you made that." It's like, well, you look around the room and there's 7 other pieces here that I couldn't believe I made them. I just exposed this wood and I put some legs on it, and nothing special in the process, but something special in the end. That was, it was just the wood exposing itself to us and allowing itself to be used in such a way that became important. Otherwise it was just leaning up against a wall. So
well, I think it's more than just exposing the wood. I think that it's your connection with your father, your connection with your wife and your family, and you knowing that the experience that you had with your father and realizing that the black walnut, which is a beautiful piece of wood, is his preferred medium, and he shared that with your mother. Now you're sharing it with your wife, and then you have somebody to see the love and experience that was exposed in your life is now shared through this piece of furniture. It's not just a piece of walnut with legs on it. Mm-hmm. This is a creation that's happened over a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And, this really, that story, thank you so much for sharing it. And I could hear how emotion was around it, because it's more than just walnut with some legs. It's your love for your father, his love for your mother, your love for your wife, the connection that you have with family, and then for a family friend to come over and say, this is absolutely beautiful. That really exemplifies who you are, who Three Goose Shoppe is, and you as a husband, a father, a son, a friend, and a friend to me. And I want to thank you again for joining me on the inaugural podcast episodes. Hopefully this gets some traction and we can do a follow-up.
It's fantastic, man.
Let me give you a couple
Very
of
excited for you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for being a part of it.
Of course.
Let me give you some rapid fire questions. I'll give you about 3 or 5.
Well, right before we do that, the table, the walnut table, it has 3 legs.
Of course it does.
3 Goose
4
Shoppe,
would be too many.
3 legs. Yeah. It's the most stable platform. Wow. I just kind of realized that. Everything I've made has 3 legs.
That's great.
Yeah. All the little end tables, the little display tables, 3 legs. It's only because I don't think I can balance. All right, rapid fire.
All right. What's your favorite tool in your toolbox?
Band-Aid.
West Coast coffee or East Coast coffee?
Coffee milk.
Coffee milk.
It's a Rhode Island.
Okay. Very specific. Very good.
Dunkin'.
What beverage would you have in the shop on any given day?
Cold sparkling water.
What one person would you like to collaborate with?
Oh, gosh. My dad.
That's nice. That's beautiful. And if time or money was not an issue, what would you be doing?
making more stuff out of walnut. Walnut can get expensive. That's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, it certainly can.
And probably a different climate. We've only been here 3 years, and it's like, oh man, this is gonna. They have seasons here. I spent 26 years in Los Angeles, and then no season. Like a little warmer, a little colder. But here you got the whole thing. No, I love it. Yeah, what was that? What was the last question? Did I answer it?
If money or time wasn't an issue, what would you be doing?
Yeah. Making more walnut furniture and getting better at it. Making enormous mistakes with very expensive pieces of wood. That's what I'd be doing. Giant scaled up table. Yeah. No live edge stuff, no epoxy stuff, just getting the wood right, letting the wood be wood.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, Kurt, thank you for joining me on Create and Connect. Where
Absolutely.
can people find you if they're looking to see what sort of walnut or go-kart you're working on?
Sure. I post as frequently as I can on YouTube. My channel is Three Goose Shoppe, Shoppe. I can be reached on Instagram at Kurt Blum. That's at KurtBloom, all one word. And around Rhode Island. I'm finding makers here in Rhode Island, and I'll see you at camp and various other things related to kink. I hope.
Well, Kurt, thank you so much for a powerful story. Thank you for sharing your mistakes with us. Thank you for sharing your emotion and your meaning of family and shop. And
that's a blast, man.
Yeah,
thank you for giving us a place to talk about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll do it again. Until next time, I'm Tom Breslin. Keep creating, keep connecting.